Welcome back to the Postpartum Plan podcast. This podcast is designed to support and empower you through postpartum. Whether you're expecting, in the early postpartum days, or beyond, this space is for you. I'm your host, Madison Fugere, a dedicated postpartum doula and pediatric sleep consultant, striving to help parents feel confident and supported in their parenting journey. Each week, I'm sharing practical tips and expert advice to help you navigate all the postpartum things with confidence. Well, as much confidence as you can. Let's embark on this journey together, making your parenthood as serene and supportive as possible. Allison is a family nurse practitioner within a non-judgmental, multi-disciplinary office of providers called Lyphos Family Health in Nashua, New Hampshire. She has a background in holistic herbalism and functional medicine and is able to offer patients pharmacological options and holistic options to create a customized plan that works for each patient and their lifestyle. She's accepting new patients of all ages from newborn to adulthood now, so definitely check out her information below. Thank you so much for joining me today, Allison. I'm excited to have you.
Yes, hi.
I'm super hyped to kind of chat a little bit more about, family practice and all the things that y'all do at your space, because when you reached out to me to chat about even Baby Dance Club and then now the podcast, I'm really finding it so cool and so interesting and amazing that you guys are having such a, I don't know what word to use, a full circle, like an all approach kind of space.
Yeah,
So I'm super excited to tell everybody a little bit about that and also, help them to understand why having so many different approaches can be really, really beneficial. So yeah, thanks for joining me.
yeah, thanks for having me.
I
So I,
I was just gonna say, no, you're perfect. I was just gonna say, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and the space? And then we'll start there. And I think that's what you were about to do. So
yes.
that's perfect. We're reading our minds.
Yes. So I have been a nurse for over 10 years and my background is mostly in pediatrics. I decided to go to NP school, um, not really knowing what I wanted to do, but I went for it and have been trying to find a way to blend my more holistic approach with, the traditional medical model.
Mhm.
And it's not really something that's easy to do.
Yeah.
As I was learning through my clinicals and even through school, like there's not a ton of room or um, space for holistically minded, providers at this
Right.
time. It's becoming more open and there is a need for it, but it's hard to find a space where you really fit in. Um,
Absolutely.
so during NP school, my husband and I decided, let's start a family, because I didn't have enough going on. So uh, we had my son, and I kind of was going through the steps of finding a primary care provider for him that was more holistically minded and kind of in line with what I was looking for. And it was hard to do. But I found Lyphos Family Health through my birth center, and my son was a patient there, and then I connected with the owner, Brandon Lenatsis, who's the chiropractor, and he was caring for my son, and I was learning more about their model, and they're, very much holistic, multidisciplinary office that offers chiropractic, primary care, acupuncture, massage, mental health counseling. So, they're really coming at you full
Yeah.
force with the holistic approach. So it was just kind of perfect for me and my family. And then after I graduated, I was offered a job there, and it's been great. I see patients of all ages, from newborn through, adult, and I'm able to blend my background of holistic health with the traditional medical model and kind of offer my patients options, which
Yeah.
I really appreciate. Instead of just being like, okay, this is what we do for this, there's other things too. So
Right.
um, they appreciate that, and I appreciate being able to offer that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
So
that's
awesome. I think
kind of
it's
where I
so
come
cool
from.
to have kind of like that mesh of both, right? Because in some situations, you do want to be more holistic. You want to know your options. And for some people that are kind of like middle of the road types of people, right? Like those that you see, they're the scrunchy moms. So like, you're not crunchy, but you're not fully like
Yeah.
medicalized, right? I see that word used on social media a lot. But it's that idea that like all your options, right? You're not just being kind of like pigeonholed into like one thing, this is what you do, but
Mhm.
being able to have all these different options of like, okay, yeah, like you're experiencing this. An episode that's going to go up before this that I just recorded this morning was about, tongue ties and releases, right? So like even if we're talking about that topic, not talking specifically about releases, but then maybe we're doing more holistic approach side of things. And the same thing goes for like the space and a lot of the clientele that y'all see from my understanding. And I think it's so cool because you're getting that holistic side of things, right? Like, hey, let's go get you in with a chiropractor. Let's get you talking to a mental health therapist. Let's get you this or that. But then also being like, but we're also medical professionals. And if you need XYZ, like we're here to help you with that as well. And I think it's super cool to kind of get that mesh of two things together, like you were mentioning, because you're given every single option, whether it's as a parent for your child or for yourself as a patient. I think that's such a cool and really special, like, opportunity that you guys are giving your families and your patients there.
Yeah, definitely. It's great because we try to offer everything to support, new moms and young children too, to give the full, full spectrum approach.
Yeah,
So it's a cool, unique place, I think,
absolutely.
for new families, moms,
Totally.
the whole
And I love
fam.
that, not only is it just like a transactional thing, right? I feel like so often people think about, okay, I'm going to my pediatrician, and that's because I'm like, going for a routine visit or I'm going for a sick visit. And it's very transactional, right? Like everybody knows the doctor's offices are always late. And then when you're there, you're like sitting around with other sick children. And then when you're there, you only see a doctor for maybe like 5 minutes. And is it even your doctor or is it just someone else in the practice? And it's so transactional. And like, I find it can be so hard for people to pick a pediatrician and pick a place to go to because they don't want to just be like a number on a piece of paper. They're patient number six of the day, right?
Mhm.
I feel like when you're able to provide such a full spectrum space, people and parents and children, they're not just showing up for their one annual visit, right? Like they're coming for, preemptive care of getting massages or chiropractic work and things like that, which also probably makes a doctor's office less scary for these children going in, right? I feel like kids are so nervous to go to the doctors, but like if they're coming to a space that they're so comfortable with and have been to many times, I'm sure it's a very different vibe when people come in. Do you find that parents are saying that as well?
Yeah, totally. Because a lot of our patients here see multiple providers. It is more of, people feel more at home and more comfortable,
Yeah.
because they know everybody who's here. They have worked with other providers, and it's just a very welcoming and homey vibe here.
Yeah, I love that. I love that that can be such an option. Now, if people are looking for a pediatrician, right? Because obviously prenatally we're kind of like looking and scoping out because the first thing they ask you when you're at the hospital is like, what's your pediatrician's
Yeah.
name, right? What kind of questions should people be asking pediatricians when they're going to them? Because I don't think people realize, especially first-time parents, that like when you're finding a pediatrician, you're basically like interviewing them. Like you're really finding somebody that's going to feel like a good fit, right? So what kind of things should people be asking or looking for if they're looking for somebody that is a little bit more of a holistic approach and doesn't kind of, just say this is what you get and this is what you're doing, kind of a provider?
Yeah. So you have to kind of think about what your views are on, healthcare and how
Right.
you want to approach parenting. And you want to make sure that that provider is accepting of or and knowledgeable of the things that are important to you. So these could be things like, are they knowledgeable, or able to refer you out for if you're having issues breastfeeding, latch issues, sleep issues. So they need to be up to date on those kinds of things. If you are more interested in natural therapies, you can ask more about their background on that and what their approach to things like antibiotics are, and make sure that you feel comfortable, you don't feel, like you're being judged by your provider.
Yeah.
Um, those are all really important things. And then other things that are important too when you're thinking about a pediatrician would be um, how is scheduling going to work? Are there
Mm,
same day sick visits
yep,
available? Will you always be seeing your provider? Are there other providers in the practice? Um, how do you contact your pediatrician?
yep,
And what would be the expected time for a reply?
absolutely.
What
Yeah,
is the, vibe of the office in general? Do you feel comfortable there? And then lastly, it's important to, if you're using insurance, make sure they accept your insurance,
right.
or are open about, the prompt pay prices that you would be
Totally.
paying if you're not using insurance.
Yeah, I think that it's so overwhelming. And I hear even with postpartum clients when I do a lot of inquiry calls, and I feel like this goes for the firsts for a lot of first-time parents, is like the phrase of you don't know what you don't know. So I find that people are like, well, I don't know what to ask. I don't know what to look for. I don't know what I believe. Do you have suggestions on specific places where people can, go online, do some research, or people that they could talk to find what their stance is on a lot of different things. The things that come to mind are different like shots or like you said, antibiotics or different approaches to parenting, especially when it comes to medical things. I think there's so much information out there, it can be overwhelming. And so, yeah, I'd love to know if you have any specific resources that you might suggest to people to kind of look into prior to meeting with pediatricians to kind of know what kind of questions they might want to ask.
So my favorite resource is it's called Dr. Green Mom. It's a
Okay.
website and blog. She is a nurse practitioner, and she breaks down a ton of different illnesses. She breaks down every single vaccine with just the facts. Just
Yeah.
these are the pros of doing this treatment. These are the cons of doing this treatment. She's super neutral. There's no like, this is what I think you should do. This is what I don't think you should do.
Hmm.
Super unbiased. So that is my favorite resource. And I direct a lot of parents to her blog, and I've gotten really good feedback on it about how it's been really helpful for them making decisions. So Dr. Green Mom is my number one.
All right, cool. And I think, like you said, it's really hard, like to find, somebody that is the middle of the road. So the fact that you're able to use that resource is great. Because I do think that sometimes people say they're like, middle of the road, they're not being biased. But oftentimes, they'll research one side more than the other, or they'll give more research-based information on one side and more opinion-based information on another side. So it's really great that there are resources out there that are kind of middle of the road that people can kind of start with, check that out, see how they feel about different things. And then going into that, pediatrician quote unquote interview, right? You could be like, yeah, okay, this is how I feel about this. What's your stance on that? Or vice versa. Now, when you're talking to providers, when people are interviewing and they're asking them these types of questions, are there things that they should look for, like specific words or terms that providers may or may not use that they should be looking for? Because I know it's very easy for anybody, right, to do the whole fake it till you make it. And so if you're asked a question, kind of, alter your answer based on what the person's wanting to hear. So how do we know if providers are truly kind of in agreement with your stances versus, if they're just kind of appeasing the questions?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like the vibe you get. Are you
Yeah.
getting the vibe that they're kind of faking it and telling you what you want to hear, or are you getting the vibe that they're real and they really do agree or, align with what your views are too? I think that's the big part of it. I think, like you said, asking for resources or where they kind of get their knowledge and
Mm,
ideas from can be really validating as well.
that's a good
Um,
one.
yeah, so making sure that they've actually done their research and not just, telling you what you want to hear.
Which is great. Yeah, I think that that's a really good point, right? They're not going to be able to like fake up some information. And I think that there's also, you know, I think people are better in the medical community now about being like, okay, like this is my stance. Like if you agree, great. And if you don't, there's providers out there that will agree with whatever you want to agree with. So I do think it's and that vibe thing, oh my gosh, so true. Like I think it really, really, really is about just like agreeing with the vibe, feeling it out, seeing what feels good. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Now, I would love to know a little bit more about the different types of providers that you guys are referring to and maybe some of the reasoning why you send people to different types of other providers, especially the ones within your space. But do you have other places that you'll send out to? Obviously, some people will be local, so that might be great, but others may just like to know, what kind of providers are out there and what kind of providers should they be looking for?
Yes. So I can, as a primary care provider, refer out to anyone. So
Yeah.
any specialty, obviously, that a patient may need, we can refer out to. We can refer out to speech, occupational therapy, physical therapies, if your child would need that, or refer to early interventions. I am able to refer out to lactation consultants, and people who are very experienced with breastfeeding and knowledgeable on that. We have sleep consultants that we can refer to. You are the big one. Um, so yeah, so really prepared to kind of refer out to anything that a parent might need or a patient might need. And then in the office, we have chiropractic, which can be really good for the littles, especially the newborns. It can help with alignment. It can help with, alignment after birth. And then ear infections, constipation. There's really a ton of stuff that chiropractic can help with. It can help with sleep. It can help with colic and digestive issues. And then we have acupuncture, which is more for the adults. The acupuncturist here, I think, works with 12 and up.
Okay.
But that's really good support for mom after birth, with pains. It can help with emotional health. And then we also have massage, which is more for the adults as well, but that can obviously help with, after birth pains, relaxation, and then mental health, which is super important for moms and dads after birth. Making sure mental health is in check. And I think it's also important too to say that moms should have their primary care all set up before birth too, so they are prepared if they need anything, if they're having any issues after birth, that they can have a primary care who can help them, refer them out if they need to, talk about medications or treatments that they may not be expecting to need after birth. But it's important for moms too to have their primary care in line as well as their newborns.
Absolutely. I think that it can be so easy to quickly focus on everything that you need to set up for baby, right? And then you often then end up forgetting that, oh my gosh, wait, like I am going through something crazy too. And, partners as well, especially the mental health side of things, it can be challenging because, partners can also experience postpartum mood disorders, but you're so focused on, the person who just gave birth and the baby. And it's so hard to not be so selfless, but uh it's so hard to because we're being so selfless. There we go. But it is. And I think making sure that you have your own people lined up is so important as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I was going to ask you a question and now I'm totally blanking on what it was and I'm trying to remember what I wrote down. Um, I'm forgetting. That's okay. Are there any other specific things that you find people have like misconceptions about when it comes to having like holistic care, or a space with like a space or lots of different providers like you guys have? Do you find people come in and are expecting one thing and see another, or, kind of have misconceptions among different things that align with what y'all do?
Yeah, I mean, what we do here is not one size fits all, and it's not like, you have to do what I think you should do. It's very much a collaborative approach. Um, so I like to, work with my families and come up with a plan that works for them. Um, and what works for one family is not going to work for every family. So I think that's really important to remember that your care here is totally individualized. And it's really cool that we have all these modalities because all of the providers work together to come up with the best care plan for you. Um, and I don't think many people realize that or expect that that can happen here. We all do work together to create the best plan for you. So I think that's probably the biggest misconception, is that we're all just kind of doing our own individual things here, but we're not.
Yeah.
We're all working together. We're all collaborating and trying to come up with the best plan for our patients.
I love that. I think it's so important to recognize that, you guys are really making it patient-centered, whereas I think that a lot of other very medicalized providers are very, check the boxes. And it's really cool to see that you guys are really taking, your patients into consideration. What do they need? What are their goals? And then helping them to find a way to meet those goals and to, accomplish and get to wherever they want to by utilizing all different resources and by collaborating together, all of y'all's brains together. Oh my gosh, it must be the best thing in the world. So having so
Yeah.
many different perceptions is the wrong word, but different providers being able to bring their expertise to the table. I can't talk today. Um, I'm just so thrown off. Oh my gosh. But being able to have so many experts is so helpful, and definitely you probably see a lot of success of people meeting whatever goals they have because they have so many different resources at their fingertips for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's really a unique experience here. And I'm really, lucky that I get to be a part of that and to make such a difference in people's lives. So I think what we have here is really special. So
I
I
love that.
just would love people to know that these options exist.
Absolutely. Yeah. So whether you're local to Nashua, New Hampshire or not, definitely check out Allison and her, work that she does within the space. I will have all of her information in the notes below for sure. And then if you aren't local and you're looking for something like this, feel free to also reach out to either of us and we'd be happy to help find something for you or do some research with you. But yes, I appreciate you joining me. Sorry for all the technical difficulties,
No.
everybody. Hopefully I do well editing this all together. Um, but it's been a blast, and definitely keep your eyes peeled because not only are they providing, patient care, but also creating a really great community. So I will be actually at the space in February teaching a baby dance club class, and hopefully that goes well and we do some more of them. But there's really a community that you guys are building there, and I find it so, so amazing. So yes, if you're local, definitely check it out, and let Allison know that I sent you. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Postpartum Plan podcast. I hope that today's episode brought you support, relatability, and valuable insight. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave a review and share with any of your prenatal and postpartum friends and family. Your feedback helps us reach more parents seeking support. And if you're looking for additional resources, please feel free to connect via Instagram at Serene Moments Doula for constant information, tips, and tricks, or check out my website, www.serenemomentsdoula.com. See you next week.